3 shots, per par, I just do 2. 1 putt, par 4, birdie, woohoo. New driver, info, replace, M2, par 5, fairway, what you fin do? Think I'll try to get on into, start right, good line, good view, it drew, shooter McGavin, 2 thumbs that's up high.
This episode is brought to you by our friends over at Swannies. Clear your closet and get ready to upgrade your fall golf wardrobe over at swannies.co using the promo code SCREWS25. At swannies.co using the promo code SCREWS25. Celebrate pars.
Paddy, the hardest get at Club Champion Media. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good.
Thanks for joining us, man.
No worries. It's definitely, we've been talking about it for a couple months now, so
Yeah,
I'm glad we could do it. I'm
we were
excited.
supposed to play some golf this year. I was only out at TPC once just to caddy this year, but you're still there, yeah? You're still playing there?
I actually joined North Halton this year.
Okay.
Just to get a little bit more of that sort of private feel, and I've been at TPC for a long time. It's where I started in the golf industry. That was my first job, so it's quite literally a stone throw away from the front door. But
Yeah.
so it was good. I probably still got out and played TPC 4 or 5 times this year.
Oh yeah, they have no membership now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with,
You know Spagnoli? Anthony Spagnoli? He was over there at
What did
TPC.
he do there?
He was just he just plays a lot. He does like the rankings for the Score Golf and Golf Digest.
Oh, you know what? I do know him.
Yeah.
He's a customer of ours.
Yeah. He
That's
definitely
why I
is.
know the name.
He's this tall.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Maybe.
he's a customer of Dino's for sure. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So how was the experience at North Halton? It's funny you say that because I'm kind of thinking about going to a private club next year too. So I'm kind of curious. Anybody who's kind of made the change recently? How was it?
Yeah, it was good. It was a place where there's been a couple of clients of mine that have been there, and I've heard really good things about it. It's somewhere that's not too. I don't like the whole sort of snobby, let's say like old school golf club,
Yeah.
Type stuff, where you have to wear a jacket for dinner and stuff like that. Just not my cup of tea. I'd rather just show up, be able to put a ball on the ground and go and play 18 holes. And it's a good golf course. It caps out 6,700 yards, not the longest, but if you can't putt like me, then you're going to struggle to shoot well, that's for sure.
It looks nice, man. What's with all these trees though? There's so many trees there, and Bryce and I'd be in a lot of trouble here.
Yeah, I wouldn't do well there.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen it or heard of it, but I
Yeah,
heard there's a lot of trees. So
Look at these trees, man. There's way too many
absolutely.
trees for golf. Way too many. Yeah, that's kind of my concern next year. Is I was
a
looking at.
driver wouldn't even come out of my bag.
I was looking at Oshawa, and I'm gonna be playing 2-iron off the tee a lot. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of on my mind too. Same type of thing. Just don't want it to be too stuffy or anything like that. I want to be able to enjoy the game, and if I'm running late, want to run over there after work or something like that. Want to feel like I can do that too, right? So, but Paddy, I got some advice from your mentor today.
Oh, God.
No, I won't start it off that way. I wouldn't do that to you. But is
Funny,
this
I know
your?
what you're talking about, so
Yeah, is this your first pod? Is it?
it is.
It is, man.
yeah.
Bryce, we got another one. We love it, man. We got.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Bryce, still on mute, but it's he just said to give you the gears a little bit. You might be a little bit nervous, but we've started off well here, man. Really good.
We try to make it pretty simple on our guests.
All good.
It's pretty organic, pretty cool, pretty clean for us. We just like to talk some golf and stuff. So one thing I did want to ask you about, I was doing a little bit of research on your page earlier. So you were obviously a professional club fitter at Club Champion Canada. So so I don't know if you've been seen on the channel a little bit. I think you were on there one time. I think I remember seeing you there on one time. But what's a washed up weekend warrior? How do you get to a point of being a washed up weekend warrior?
I would say playing junior golf, I was never to the elite level where, playing in like provincial championships and national championships or Team Ontario, Team Canada. So I would say my whole junior career, I was a weekend warrior. Where, I could go out and I'd have a pretty continuous handicap, and I'd be able to shoot, a couple over par here and there, and a bad round versus a good round would be 4 or 5 shots of a difference. Where now I think it's I'm officially washed up, where I can go out, and I'd say 60% of the time I maintain, that I'd say I'm a 4 handicap, but there's some people out there that it's a little bit less, and sometimes it feels like I'm a 10. So
I hear
I
that.
try and play as much as I can, but I get out probably 30 to 35 times a year now. So
I didn't realize we
That's
got
pretty much you pretty much just summed up my golf game.
Yeah, I didn't realize
it.
we got below a washed up or like a weekend warrior. I thought that was as low as we went because I referred to myself a couple weeks ago as a weekend warrior, standing over like an 8-foot slider, thinking I might hit an 8 feet pass. So, but yeah, we're there. So, all right, Paddy, we're into it here. So, Paddy Burke, professional club fitter with Club Champion Canada. Can you give us an idea who's Paddy? Doesn't have to be all golf related. Just give us a little synopsis of who you are, or a little idea of who you are, what you do at Club Champion.
Yeah. Started with the company 3 years ago, when it was TXG, as a college intern, co-op student type thing from Humber College, right before COVID hit, actually. Got hired just doing, some random stuff in the back. I had always been sort of interested in maybe not necessarily working in pro shops or folding t-shirts and doing that sort of stuff for the golf industry, but working in clubs and equipment. But I had no idea what fitting was like. So once I started at TXG, obviously great group of guys that you guys know, and really fell in love with the whole idea of being able to help golfers. Me in particular, the best thing it was junior golfers. One of my first fits, 6 months into it, she's still a client to this day, but was a really young up-and-coming junior golfer. And I just thought it was so cool that it wasn't something I necessarily did when I was playing junior golf, but to be able to see, 13, 14-year-old kids starting to get custom fit nowadays and see their game, changing over time. And now I've been there 3 years, and she comes back every year, and she's signed to a Division I school now, and there's more and more of players like her coming through from the same coach. And so I do enjoy working with the junior players for that aspect of it.
Name a better feeling than buying something you can take and wear anywhere. Money spent on quality products is money well spent. Even more so when that purchase shows the same versatility as that fake laugh at your boss's dinner party. Why would you spend a fortune on clothes you'll only wear to the golf course when you could buy gear that belongs in any situation? Obviously, we'd all love to be playing 36 this weekend instead of the dreaded farmer's market or baby shower or whatever else you need to do, but that doesn't mean you need a change of clothes. Swannies is your go-to from work to golf to work to baby shower to farmer's market to work to golf and everything else in between. Screws25 at swannies.co. Screws25 at swannies.co for 25% off. Enjoy.
I ended up leaving school when COVID happened, by luck, honestly. Found a good gig at TXG, or Club Champion now, and did a bit of everything in the beginning, from in the back cleaning clubs to some customer service stuff, and then during COVID actually moved to more sort of the social media side of things. So that's when I was probably seen on the channel a little bit in the background and some of the on-course videos, that sort of stuff. But once we sort of reopened after COVID over the last, I'd say 18 to 20 months that we have been sort of back since that June, it's been sort of full-time fitting, 100% dedicated to the Bay. And yeah.
So when you went to, sorry, Bryce, I didn't know if you were going to jump in there, but when you went to college, were you, like, you went for, like, is it still PGM, Pro Golf Management?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
is that the course that you had taken? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, did you know what you wanted to do? Did you want to just kind of get your feet wet in, like, the golf industry, see where it took you, or were you looking for anything specific? It doesn't sound like it was fitting, right?
No, definitely wasn't fitting. I wanted to be a top coach. I wanted to be a a golf coach, and I got probably still a junior coach, but like an elite level coach helping kids make it to Division I colleges and that sort of stuff. And the summer before I went to college, I started sort of not fitting, but giving lessons on the side and that sort of stuff, and realized that it kind of got, a little tedious, and I'd probably have to put a lot more hours into it than, I thought I would. I thought just the experience I had of, getting lessons in the past, I'd be able to, put that knowledge on other people. So it was a very raw sort of idea that I had. But I knew since a very young age that, the golf industry was going to be sort of the place for me. And I've always thought, it's an industry that you can take over. There's that old stereotype that, you don't make a lot of money in the golf industry, but I think if you, in any industry, if you can, really, really dedicate yourself to it, there's tons of opportunities out there.
Well, I think it's cool too. Like, I know you kind of mentioned it earlier, but how you have the junior golfers and you can kind of grow with them, right? Like you said, she came back every year. It's like it's cool to see her grow every year and get better and better, and her swing change and all that. And it's almost like being a coach, where it's like you're not teaching them, but essentially you're teaching them what clubs they need to use. So I think that's kind of a cool correlation there, that you wanting to be a coach and then now just teaching kids in a different way, essentially.
Yeah, and I think a really cool part about it is, like, you do get to, have this relationship with all these coaches, right? From junior coaches to, top coaches that have some guys on PGA Tour. And it becomes kind of like a yin and yang thing of, okay, this is what we did in the fit. Does this correlate with what you're teaching them? Does this correlate with, their sort of 2-month plan or 3-month plan of getting their game into the right spot? Is it the right time for a fitting, or should we kind of grind it out a bit right now through the trenches of a swing change, and then there'll be the benefits of the custom clubs, or can we correlate it to make this work, sort of side by side.
Paddy, was there a time? So I kind of want to take it back to when you started back with TXG. So you're doing your college internship. You said you were doing a little bit of everything at that period of time, which I've done the same thing. I've done an apprenticeship, so I know it's like you kind of bounce around all the different things. And was there a time where you kind of like, were you almost shocked that you were interested in club fitting, or was there a time where you're like, okay, like I think this is where I want to take it?
Yeah, I think I was just, I'm not a great student, I'll be honest. So I think when I had the chance to be at TXG, and it was right at the point where the sort of Mississauga studio was, it was designed as a fulfillment studio at first, and then as we were getting busier and busier, we put 2 bays in there, and Mikey and Ian were fitting out of there, but then their schedules were getting busier and busier just as the company was growing so fast. And I just said to them, like, listen, I know absolutely nothing about club fitting other than from what I've seen you guys do when I walk past, and, looking at certain shaft lengths, and literally that's all I knew was different shaft lengths, loft and lies. Couldn't tell you what they meant, couldn't tell you anything about them. And really just sort of stuck by Mikey and Ian's side through probably 3-4 months of it. And it probably wasn't until I started doing it for about 6 months, full time, before I was like, okay, this is, I could see myself doing this for a while for sure.
What was your first fitting like when you had somebody come in the bay?
Yeah, were you nervous?
Oh yeah, totally.
No.
Do you remember it?
I was, yeah, for sure. I was very young. I'm still young. I'm only 22. So when I first started with the company, I was 19 years old, and there's a lot of people who, when they were coming in for fittings, and they're expected to get a high level sort of fitting and a high level experience, that sort of stuff, and they're faced with a 19-year-old kid, it kind of throws them off a little bit. And so that was definitely playing more nerves until I think I felt confident in terms of, what I knew and of heads and shafts and that sort of stuff. But it
Right.
was how to interact with customers that, came in and didn't open their eyes at a 19-year-old kid. And I still remember one customer when I was 6 months into it. He came in for a full bag fit and turned and walked right back out the door when he found out I was 19 years old. And that was just kind of like, a shock to. He didn't even want to see what I could do and go through the experience. So there was definitely the nerves of that, but yeah, at first there was a whole lot of sticking to what in terms of pulling certain shafts. How they kick points and heads and stuff like that. But thankfully I shadowed Mike and Ian for a long enough time before kind of getting thrown into the fire, and so it wasn't too nerve-wracking. It wasn't too bad, that's for sure.
Well, we've talked to Mikey a few times. Like usually we'll come on when there's like when we're previewing the clubs for the following year or whatever it may be. And Mikey's a young guy too. He's younger, he's a little bit older than Bryce maybe, and like the amount of knowledge that he has is deeper than almost anybody in the industry. It's really impressive, right?
Crazy.
So we don't need to talk about this and talk about Mike. He doesn't need this extra.
I know we can't pump his tires too much.
He doesn't need it.
You won't be able to get through the door for work tomorrow.
I know exactly, but it's just like it's really impressive that he's been able to develop what he has. Ian as well, obviously, a lot of that training's probably coming from Ian too, and just like you guys obviously have players coming from all over the world to trust the TXG brand or the Club Champion Media brand. Which is cool. So to see somebody kind of come in the door, knowing that Ian is running the business, and then walk out because of your age, that's kind of, I don't know, probably wearing a jacket to dinner at the country club, right? So
yeah, it's just that ego, man.
Yeah.
That guy can't shake that ego.
Yeah, it was, and there was one of those ones that Ian's first job when in the golf industry working for TaylorMade. He was 19 years old when he was doing it. Mikey's 27. Obviously, TXG or Club Champion Canada now, was about 7 years old. So, and Mikey was at Modern before that. So Mikey was 18, 19 when he first got into building and club fitting. And so it's kind of funny how we've all been, we're all sort of starting at the same time, and we're all sort of going through the same steps.
Yeah.
When Mikey was learning how to build and how to fit, he was the same age as when Ian was learning how to do it all. And now sort of, I'm going through the same process now. I'm 22, 23 years old and 3-4 years into the side of the industry, and it's sort of the same spot where Mikey was. So it's it's pretty cool. It's nice to have a company and to be with a company where everyone is so young and everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
Right. There's no, people still trying to fit by ear because they don't trust quad, they don't trust TrackMan, and no old school fitters. It's everyone's young, everyone's fresh, and everyone just wants to do well. So it's good. It's fun.
I was gonna say, back to everyone starting young. Like, I don't think there's a coincidence of that you guys all starting that young, and then the knowledge you have. Like, that's how you learn. Like, that's over the years and years and years of doing it, you just gain that much more knowledge. Like, I'm sure Mikey, when he's Ian's age, he'll have that much knowledge too. When you're Mikey's age in a few years here, you'll have that knowledge too. It's just when you start that young and learn that much, I mean, that's what makes you good at what you do, right? So
you're unbiased too, right? You don't have a bias from being a little bit older and maybe being around the game or something like that and hearing something over time, working in a shop or whatever it is, maybe not having like a firsthand, opinion or thought working with a fitter or something like that. Like, you might know a guy who knows a guy, and then so you kind of came in young, you're fresh, and you're literally learning from two of the best in the business, right? So you can kind of take that in as a sponge and put your own little spin on it too, right?
Yeah, and that's it. There's no textbook to club fitting. The only things we know are from being in the Bay and from sort of repping it out and seeing what works for certain players and what doesn't. And then when you see it a day later, or a week later, a month later, going back to that, and it's just, you still, even now, 3 years into it, there's days where people come into the bays and, you know, I'll look over to Dean, the other fitter, and sometimes she'll look over to me, and it's just like, have you seen this before? What kind of little tips and tricks can we do to help out? And but all that stuff just comes with being in the bay, and that's why it's so fun. Every day is a different game and a different puzzle to try and piece together for every client that comes.
Mac here for Manscaped. Gentlemen, our friends over at Manscaped have been working night and day to bring you a below-the-waist grooming experience like none other with their brand new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. We're talking about a next-generation trimmer with interchangeable blade heads for whatever shave a mind can imagine. AI is cool, but I think this might be the best technology advancement the world has ever seen. Upgrade your grooming game to the Ultrasphere this year by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping using the promo code OTS Golf. High tech for low prices. Manscaped OTS Golf for 20% off plus free shipping. We'll see you in the Ultrasphere.
I got a bit of a cliche question for you. So if you were to, we're talking about how you're 22 years old, 3 years ago you got started up. If you were to kind of tell yourself, like give yourself a pointer back then, or if you're training somebody, even let's say you're training somebody who's coming in, they're 18, 19, and they want to get into fitting, is there any like knowledge that you'd share with them, any thoughts, like any information that you would give them that you wish that you had then?
That I wish I had? No, because I think I did have it all. Luckily, there's, the two of them, Mike and Ian, have been, huge helps, and it would just be, sit down and open your ears. That's all it takes is, soak up, be that sponge, soak up any sort of information you can find. Obviously now we have, a YouTube channel that has gotten out there, and it's pretty popular, and there's no terms that, Ian or Mike use on the YouTube channel that I don't say on a day-to-day basis in the bay. And I'd say they're the ones who get to go to like the media release days and that sort of stuff. So they learn all the information firsthand from the OEMs. So there's no just sitting down having conversations with them and hearing how they interact with customers or watching what they do when they're in the bays and when they are fitting. And yeah, that's honestly all I do, and all I still do now is, obviously everyone has these little university courses that you can take, and TrackMan U or True Temper has their own little shaft thing, Acra has a shaft thing, VA has a shaft thing, but sitting down and watching a 2-minute video and then answering a 10-question survey at the end of it, right, doesn't make you, a world-class club fitter. The only thing it does is experience. So it's fun when, and I'm lucky being able to work so close to two different fitters, because they're completely different styles, the way they fit, and it's good to kind of see both ends of it.
I don't have a ton of experience with fitting. Like neither does Bryce. Like we're not like, obviously I don't think anybody listening to this podcast right now, to be honest, does. Like you're in it every day. So when you see a client come in like Bryce or I, or just coming in, or any other person coming in to just do their regular fitting, do you have an idea, like based on our swing, you watch us for a couple of minutes, hit a couple balls, like do you have an idea of where you want to take that? Like you would build there, like you don't have a pre-built playbook for them. You're gonna like, that's kind of what I'm asking, is you'll have a look at the swing, and then are you taking things from there based on the data?
Yeah. I mean, so right away, for example, say it was an iron fit,
right?
A big part of it is not only make the customer feel comfortable, but for us to understand what's going on in the fit as they're warming up. Little sort of breakdown questions of where do you play, what kind of course is it, what conditions, how do you normally play, what's the strengths, what's the weaknesses, where's your misses, that sort of stuff. And it's questions that the customer doesn't feel threatened to answer, right? Do you come up short, or do you miss it right, do you miss it left, little stuff like that. But for us, it's a huge indicator in terms of, okay, if he misses it right, is his clubs too heavy? Can you not turn the face over? Is the lie angle's messed up? Is shaft's too stiff? Like stuff like that we are already starting to think about. And then we just baseline off his current iron. So obviously we fit off a 6-iron, watch him hit a couple of them and see from there swing dynamics, very basic stuff in terms of club head speed, or path, club face, all that sort of stuff. And then you can kind of get into the nitty gritty of it, of dynamic loft and everything he does sort of through the swing to see why he maybe has a certain miss or where they're successful at other parts. And yeah, and then really the whole shaft wall and heads kind of divide themselves up and really just narrows it down automatically.
Do you guys have on your shaft wall? Do you have it in order from like? Do you have it in any sort of order, like alphabetical or like company or maybe tip stiffness?
Brands.
Brands, okay.
Brands, yeah.
I was thinking tip stiffness or handle stiffness or whatever would be kind of cool, because then if you're like, oh, I need a stiffer handle, I'll go to this side of the wall. But I was just curious.
Yeah, I think it's the nice thing is, like, if we start talking about driver shafts, for example, right? Every company kind of has now.
Yeah, all the different
range, right? Yeah, so when you put all like the Ventuses on the wall, I mean, we have 3 Ventus
red, blue,
reds.
black. Yeah.
Yeah, like we have 3 Ventus reds, 3 red TRs, 3 blues, 3 blue TRs, 3 blacks, and 3 black TRs. So you end up having 18 different shafts on the wall, all with a Ventus logo on them. But being able to break that down is, it's a lot easier than it looks. That's the first thing customers ask when we come in, is like, how do you even know where to start? Right? And it's okay. If we have 300 odd shafts on the wall for you to try, and you swing it at 103 to 105, well, then we've just lost 60% of the wall, because anything too light and too soft won't work, and anything too heavy and too stiff won't work either. So we can kind of narrow it down from there, and then look at swing dynamics, and then that, that 30% of it or whatever gets cut down again to maybe only 20% or 15% of the wall. So
do you Paddy, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, all good.
I was gonna ask, this is something that's come up a few times. Do you see like any brand, we were talking with Mikey about this, do you see any like brand loyalty type clients like that want to come in and they're like, okay, like, I want to play, like in this case we were talking about, like, I think Mac had just been on, and so they were like, okay, Mac's now with TaylorMade, so I really want to play like kind of what he's playing. Do you see any of that still, or has that ever been a thing? Yeah. Okay. So how do you deal with that? Like, how do you deal with a client that kind of might be coming in dead set on, like, I really want to play TaylorMade, but like Srixon's their iron?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've like, a big part of it is the shaft is the most important part. I mean, it's the most probably cliche club fitter thing in the world, but I always sort of explain it to customers as like, if you were to walk into a Mercedes dealership, right, and you were to get a base model off of, the lot or just right off of out of the showroom, they all look amazing. And you can say that you want, the convertible, I'm not a car guy, but the convertible Mercedes versus the SUV, whatever, that TaylorMade versus Ping. But if you really want the performance of the car, whether you get the convertible or you get, the SUV,
engine matters.
You want to put that AMG engine in it, right? That's what you want. You want the horsepower. So that's how I explain shafts to people. And, I'm like, you can be brand specific to certain heads if you want, but really where it's going to matter is the shafts. And when our boys start custom building them, we can put, any shaft in the world into whatever head you want to play. From there, I would still probably pull, maybe not every head in the world, but if they wanted, say, P790s, I would pull T200s, I would pull ZX5, I'd pull the new Apex Pro.
Hit them.
Yeah, and just show them, right? Like what is out there. At the end of the day, sometimes people gain 10, 15 yards by playing a different brand with the same shaft in it, and they go for it. But I've had people, fit them into, say a TaylorMade driver, for example, and it's really fast off the face and it gets them extra distance, but they've always played Titleist because they like the look of the Titleist. I've had people, leave 15 yards on the table because they want to go to a certain branch. So, but as long as you're in that right shaft and accuracy, dispersion, that sort of stuff is there. Every player is different when they come in wanting certain needs. Some people come in and it's distance, and they don't, really care to have a 10-yard dispersion circle or a 15-yard dispersion circle, but if they can bomb it as far down there as they want. Other people come in and they're like, if you cap my driver at 250, I don't really care as long as I don't miss a fairway for the rest of my life. I'm happy. So there's a bit of, that's another thing you have to take into consideration too is, what the players actually want out of it. Not everyone wants, the Bryson, but also, distance is fun. Distance helps. So.
And ultimately, it's the player's call no matter what, right? I mean, I know.
Yeah.
If they're not happy, then they're not going to pick it, right? So.
Yeah, that's it. It's still, look, feel, sound, like all of those still come into play. And, even for myself, I'd be, hypocritical if I told you I didn't play irons and I didn't like the look of, the feel of, and the sound of. So, yes, they work for me, and, I'm glad they do, but I would always play an iron that I can like the look of and like the feel of. And that's something that, we always talk about is when you go through the fitting, if from the minute one, you hit an iron and you don't like the way it looks, you don't like the way it feels, let me know, because there's 300 other iron heads in the world that we can make something work that, you're going to enjoy playing, because it's a big expense and we want it to be in the bag for a long time and want you to enjoy playing it.
Well, yeah, I guess too, like there would be a bit of confidence involved in that too. Like if you didn't like the look of it, you might not feel as confident standing over it, right? So I know standing over some clubs and some blades that I have no business standing over, this 4-iron, it looks cool. So it gives me the confidence, like 60% of the time it's going to work every time. And
one saying I've always loved is you can't be a professional if you don't look like one.
Yeah, that's true, man. That's true. So that's what we have going for ourselves, and that's what we have going for the podcast, really. But we're in conversation with Paddy Burke, professional club fitter, club champion Canada, correct?
Club champion Canada.
All right,
that is it.
Like that. So we're talking a little bit about distance there, a lot about distance, I'm sure, that you're talking about. So Club Champion was the presenting sponsor, I think, at the World Long Drive. Did you get involved in that? Did you check that out at all this weekend?
Not down there, unfortunately. Didn't catch the plane ticket to Atlanta.
Didn't get the tap on the shoulder, right, from Coach?
No. Must have missed the memo. But I did tune in. Luckily, it was live streamed on YouTube, and I did tune in a bunch throughout the week and over the weekend. And I mean, what a cool thing.
I love seeing it kind of get back to it, because so past guest Monica Living won. I don't know if you saw that, Bryce, but Monica Living won. Monica was on the pod a few months back, so if you want to go back and check out the pod, do so. Really good episode, but man, it was cool. Like, it seems like Long Drive is cool again. Like, Long Drive is back. I remember when I was a kid with like Jason Zuback, how just like infectious it was to like turn on the TV and watch it. And it seems like it's kind of getting back to that point. It's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but for me growing up, a hockey player who liked golf, Happy Gilmore's been my favorite movie of all time, and it's real life Happy Gilmore stuff, right? It's I think I heard Ian saying one of the guys who played in it is a real estate, or who competed as a real estate agent, by day, and then steps up there and he, top 10, top 5 in the world in terms of driving distance. It's guys that are, they just have, and that's such a talent to have the speed. And I mean, I joked with Mikey saying, like, give me 6 months to train and I could top 10, right? But
you're not the only one that said that.
No, we've heard that exactly. Yeah, we've heard that from Bryce as well.
Everyone thinks they could do it, but honestly, seeing some of the balls they hit and the speeds that they can move at it's amazing. It is a talent. It's just as talented as being able to go out shooting 63 4 days in a row, right? you got to work probably just as hard at it. to-
No
to be able
doubt,
to
like
do
no
it.
doubt
So,
they're putting in time. They're putting in a lot of effort. Like we've had Ryan Gregnell on a few times, so he's like the Canadian long drive champ. I think he's
mhm.
the 2023 Canadian long drive champ. I'm pretty sure again. And he was like the second or third guy to hit it 230 plus. I think the second. Now everybody hits a 230 plus, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's insane, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Can't compete if you're not up there.
yeah, and like even we've had Andrew Egner on, who was the world amateur long drive champ, and like he was kind of talking about trying to get to those numbers where those guys are, and just the distance that's in between. It's insane, man. And then seeing Kyle Berkshire hit a 500 and what he hit a 570-yard drive or something like that the other day. Like it's just insane,
I mean,
man. Like
Yeah, that guy is
Different
a
beast.
menace. It's
Mhm.
I mean, I love it. Anything sort of golf content that I can sort of soak up, I love, and um, I think something like that is so fun to see, a bunch of giants just trying to out ego each other and hit the ball as far as they can
For sure.
is cool. It would have been cool to see it live, but maybe one day if I hint enough for next year to Mikey and Ian,
Well,
I'll get the invite.
it's like watching like WWE. I haven't watched that since I was a kid, but
It
like
kind of is like
yeah.
similar.
Yeah, it's got that same
Yeah.
type of like infectious view, right? I can't remember where I was, but like WWE was on the TV and I was locked in for like 3 or 4 minutes and I thought to myself, like, what am I watching? I have no idea who any of these people are. I haven't like watched this in 20 something years. It's like Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker and Mankind and these guys are out there, but man, like it's really cool to watch. So
Maybe
uh
that's what they need.
yeah,
Bracket
like
style, walkout music,
they
pump it
have
up.
that, right? And that's kind of what Bryson brought last year. Like, I do believe that he put a lot of eyes, a ton of eyes on World Long Drive last year, right before the Ryder Cup or right after the Ryder Cup. It was right after he, like, took the PJ straight to the World Long Drive in Mesquite,
Yeah.
Texas. And, we were talking with Ryan Gregnell right after that. And he just said it was insane. Like, the boost that the sport got was wild. It was crazy. And then, obviously he didn't compete this year, but you just saw like the production even in a year has grown so much, right? So I did want to
Yeah,
say
for sure.
I wanted to segue that, Patty. You think you guys will start looking into fitting long drivers anytime soon? Is that something that you've already talked about? Is that something that you have the capabilities to do? Is it something that is like a whole different type of knowledge?
Knowledge, yeah. It is because now what they're starting to do with companies like Acro, or even going as far back to companies like Crank, who have been doing it for so long.
Mhm.
But now you're starting to see companies like Callaway, who make that paradigm long drive head.
Yeah.
Cobra have that long drive head, where it's all the stuff's really strong lofted, and and it has to be for those guys, 3.5, 4 degree driver heads, that sort of stuff. But in terms of a knowledge standpoint, now they're starting to use really lightweight, really soft shafts, like that video on the YouTube channel that the boys filmed, that Acro 140 video, right? The driver shafts they're using are 48 inches, so you need to learn now, how do guys swing it at 140 with their speeds, with how much pressure they're going to be loading onto those shafts. How do we get it to time up? It's definitely something that's doable, and I don't know if it'll be, something that club champion, overall every location will be able to do, and obviously it would be expensive to bring a whole long drive matrix into every store globally. But I do know from speaking to Ian since he's been back, the last couple of times, it's something that it was a part of the sport of golf that he had never looked at before. And being down there, I truly think it definitely motivated him to be. There's something there. There's something going to grow in this part of the game that no one has sort of truly clicked into yet, in terms of the level that we can fit at now for regular golfers. And I mean, if you can fit, guys like Rory or Tiger or even Bryson into his driver shaft that he plays at 45 or 45 and a half. You know, why not? How much more of an extreme do you have to go to get to where these guys are at? Um, it's definitely more intense, but it's not out of reach. That's for sure.
Yeah, like I think it'd be really cool to even like just have an option, right? Like even if I think you'll have to have a small option at some point. Like I think eventually or pretty soon you'd be crazy not to. The way that TXG has grown and now is club champion Canada is just kind of the way that long drive seems to have grown in the last couple of years, right? So our first conversation with Ryan Gregnell a couple of years ago, there's a handful of guys that he's competing against, and now they're like doing the top 64 players in the world that are all there, and like the guys who are 64th in the world are still hitting at 450. It's like I think there's just a lot of long drivers in the world. I think that it's gonna catch on a little bit. I think that we're gonna need to make space for them, I guess, right, in the sport, and they're gonna need knowledge such as people like yourself that'll be able to kind of help them with things like launch angles and stuff like that because it is so important to them, right? But before we move on, Paddy from Club Fitting, I wanted to ask you why. So we're doing an iron fitting. Why 6-iron? Why you settle on 6-iron?
6-iron is that perfect bridge in terms of now what is sort of a modern day normal set of being a combo set. You're starting to see, I would say probably honestly 40% of people get into combo sets. Every company across the industry make enough irons nowadays that you can blend them nice from either having a game improvement iron into say a player's iron or a player's iron into a blade depending on the handicap range and the skill level range. So that 6-iron is that perfect sweet spot, right? We can kind of see, let's just say TaylorMade for example. If we start with that 6-iron and the P770, you're hitting 6 out of the 10 of them really good in a nice small tight dispersion circle, but I give you that P790 and it does it automatically, right? It's easier to kind of see, okay, that is your success rate with it versus, if we fit off of a 7-iron or an 8-iron, your ability to hit those irons
easier
gets a lot easier, right? So there's sort of little tendencies in people's games that can kind of hide once they start to play smaller irons or shorter shafts, and the clubs can become, I guess a little bit less forgiving, but your tendencies in terms of ball strike and consistency and that sort of stuff, usually, not for everybody, but usually increase. So the 6-iron is really that spot. I mean, if I gave you, a 5-iron, there's probably only a handful of irons in the drawer that people would, get into every time. And again, if we did 7-irons, probably no one would play P790s or no one would get into, those, even like say T350s of the world, because most people can hit a T200 7-iron, but it's, there's still that ability and there's still that sort of need for those players to play slightly bigger irons or whatever. So that 6-iron is that really good bridger that we've found to see if we need to kind of blend a set or which way we need to go. And it really, you can't hide anything with a 6-iron because it's not too hard to hit with like a 5 and a 4-iron. Some people don't even play them anymore.
Right.
But it doesn't get too easy in terms of, players being able to, walk out with irons that if we fit them into the 7-iron, by the time they get a 4-iron in their hand, it's a completely different ball game. So that 6-iron's a bit of both.
Man, the way I've been playing lately, I might take my 5 and 4-iron out and put hybrids in.
I don't have a 4-iron anymore, so
hybrid.
I
Or
do.
like a
I have a
driving
hybrid.
iron. Nice.
Kind
Well,
of flip back and forth.
I don't think Cousin Clubs will go for that. Our friend Cousin Clubs is
he hates hybrids.
Yeah, he just when there's multiple floating around in that.
Sorry, Chris. Just meet me on the course. I'll show you how to hit hybrid. But that's a good segue. With you having access to pretty much every club in the world, essentially, you want to go through your bag? Are you a big tinker / new clubs new every year, or are you kind of maybe you want to take us through your bag currently?
Currently, there's a lot of Callaway currently, and there has been for probably 2. I've played the same iron set for the last 2 years. I'd say over over 7-8 years, I've tinkered a lot. I've played G4. I played Titleist 915, and then I played G400 TaylorMade Sim, and then I played the Rogue driver when it came out, and then I have the Paradigm driver just now. So I have the Paradigm driver and 3-wood. I've played the Apex TCB irons for, this will be my 3rd year going into them now. Wedges, I've kind of always messed around between Cleveland and Callaway. Never really been a big fan of Okies for whatever reason. Just never really got them in the bag. And then putter, I'm one of those guys who has unlimited amounts of putters, and I try and buy a putting stroke and try and see if there's a way that I can, not 3-putt, but I think I just need to practice a bit more. So putter flips between, I have a Spider, I have a Scotty, I have multiple Scotties, multiple Spiders, multiple Odysseys. So kind of flips back and forth. I've definitely tinkered over the years, but I'd say, now it's a little bit more predominantly Callaway.
Do you like the full face? Is that why you play? So if we're looking at like Cleveland, are you playing the full face? Obviously that was like a Callaway thing with Phil, when kind of Phil made that popular. Is that kind of what made you? Do you lean towards those for the full face more? Maybe more.
I've played it in a lob wedge for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't this year, but I've played the Jaws wedge. Was it last year or 2 years ago? And in the fifth, because I play a 54 degree instead of a 56, so in the 54 I found it a little strange to look down. It was the first time I've used it in a 54.
Right.
I would play in a lob wedge for sure. I think it's a great help getting out of bunkers, or when you do have to add that extra little bit of loft and sort of trim it down and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I would say a full face, I definitely think there's the benefits to it. Me personally, I don't think I can get over the look of it in a sand wedge. But
yeah, the same thought. Like when my current model right now is 52, 56, 50 or 60, but I was playing the 50, 54, 58 split, and same thing. I was never interested in a full face with the.
I don't know if you've got any sneak peeks of anything coming up here, or if you've seen anything, but anything you're excited for, and brand specific, or maybe some other golf items that you've heard about.
Nothing really. I still think it's a little early for it. I know the boys have some trips coming up. Obviously, Vokey are going to be releasing an SM10 like they do every other year anyway, so that'll be coming. TaylorMade and Callaway have new drivers, which sound good. I haven't seen any pictures or anything like that, but I do know there's been some testing going on, which is good. I know a friend of the channel, Johnny Wonders, had it and seen it, and again has some pretty positives to it. The new Odyssey putters look cool. The new face inserts on those guys look interesting, which is cool. Anything else golf related? No, that's about it. Obviously excited to see what TaylorMade do. Actually joked with Ian that today was, is it Stealth 3? Is it something different? What's it going to be called? Yeah, so I know they go down, I want to say probably in the next 2-3 weeks. There'll be probably some more stuff getting leaked, and those golf accounts on Instagram will have some black and white photos for people to see, and some names getting leaked and stuff like that. But
yeah, it's usually early November, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, what's came out so far? Those Odyssey putters has probably been the biggest
That's
one.
really it, and then just the ping irons that Hovland started using. That's really it, though.
Yeah.
And the good Odyssey putters.
yeah.
Those things look nuts.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
They're I think that's just the coolest thing in the world. Just five. Is it five? Is there 5 of them?
Yeah, I think it was 6, but I think there's 6 of them still.
of them still.
They signed a couple guys, but
Yeah, just a bunch of buddies and going out playing on a golf course and started filming themselves one day, and now they've all got certain brand deals. I know a couple of them have left, but
Yeah. The experience is like that. That's pretty wild, though. Like that's pretty cool, man. For what they've been able to do, all of them, and that's one of the things that we talked about. How like this influence of social media, and I think to get to the point where you have a brand deal with like Callaway, and it's not just like a brand deal, but you're actually they're building a line, like a good line.
Mm-hmm.
They know that line is gonna sell out, man. Like it's just like young players are gonna want to play those clubs, right? But Paddy, before we let you go, can you kind of take us through, if you don't mind, like what's your day look like? Like when you walk into the studio,
yeah.
How do you kind of start things up for the day? Getting prepped for your first client, and then maybe kind of like walk us through like what your day would look like a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, day to day is a little different depending on who's coming in and sort of what the scenario is. I'd say a regular day, I usually tend to work 8 to 5 now. Usual business hours used to be 10 to 6. I come in a little bit earlier now, and traffic wise, whatever. But yeah, it just get the bays all set up, ready to go. Create players, foresight accounts. Make sure everything sort of looks presentable in terms of like a back end or a front of house sort of stuff before people start showing up. And then from there, you just kind of roll with it. Some days you get an iron fit first thing in the morning, and it lasts an hour, and then you have a little break until midday, early afternoon before you have another one. And other days you come in and you've got 6 fits back to back from 8 until 5, and you don't even have a second to breathe. So really, I think that's the cool part about it, is there's no, it's not a 9 to 5 desk job where you come in and you sit down and answer your emails for the first 20 minutes, and then you go and get coffee, and then you come back and you do your filing for another hour, and then go and have lunch or something like that. It's every day is so different in terms of, I could come in, I could do 4 putter fits right off the bat, or I could just hop into a full bag and be there for 4 hours with the one client. And even sometimes, you're spending time in the back and you're, not necessarily building. I'd probably either glue my fingers together or lose a limb, using something. But, it's just helping out with, can I help out in any way, shipping, receiving, or, boxing clubs up? Can I do some loft and lies so the builders can, keep pumping stuff out? How many clubs can I grip in the next, hour before my fit shows up? Just stuff like that to really make sure it's a well-oiled machine, and everyone kind of helps each other out, so it's fun.
Sounds like a pretty good team, man. If holiday season's coming up, if you got you guys did like a little secret Santa around the office, who would you want to get around the shops?
Who would I want to get? Probably the easiest to buy for would be one of our builders, Tony. He's a funny guy, and
what are we getting, Tony?
Tony, you could get him anything as basic as something to do with music, I know he just bought tickets to go see Liam Gallagher I think it's Liam Gallagher in Manchester. He just bought tickets to go see Blink 182. I mean, the guy's been to probably 300-400 concerts in his life, so that might be doing him dirty there. It might be more. Or as easy as, something to do with the Leafs, something like that. So
Taylor Swift tickets coming up for Tony.
Oh yeah, Tony can get a set of Taylor Swift tickets. Only if he buys some Morgan Wallen ones on the next time.
Love it, man. Paddy, this was great. Really appreciate your time. Hopefully we didn't. I looked up. It's near on an hour. Hopefully, man, we didn't keep you too long. I hope you're okay with that. So
All good, guys. It was fun.
I know you got an early start. We'd love to have you back though, man. It's I think we found our new guy. Forget Mikey.
Yeah, screw Mikey.
Yeah, I've had enough of that. So no,
I
but
still need to get fit too, so we'll see.
yeah, Bryce still got to get in there for a fit one day.
Never been fit, so
Come on, we gotta change that. You guys gotta get in, and no time better than now. That's for sure.
We got some stuff coming up, Bryce and I. So maybe a live fit is in the works one day, or not a live fit, but maybe we'll do a little content piece or something for that, Bryce. We'd like that.
For sure.
All right, Paddy, this was great, man. Let's do it again sometime. Thanks, pal.
For sure. No worries, guys.
He's out in my ball in the course, so I tee up. I lose the ball and I re-up. I miss a fairway, I probably end up in the ocean or maybe the beach. And I'm on a par 5 and I'm finna go reach it. Second was blind, I ain't see it. Feel like it might be an albatross, worst case scenario.